What happens if you want to buy a Golf R, but you think it's too low to the ground? Well, you get this. This is the Volkswagen T-ROC R, and I like to think of it as the Porsche 911 Dakar or the Lamborghini Huracan Storado of the Golf R family. It's essentially just a lifted Golf R. It gets better ground clearance, it has terrain modes, and it's a bit more nimble than something like the Tiguan R. Now, I want to find out if throwing a bunch of performance parts at a T-ROC was a good idea, or if you're just better off buying the Golf R. Now, this isn't your mum's T-ROC. It has proper performance upgrades, but that does come with an increased price tag. This is the most expensive T-ROC you can buy, and it's going to cost you just over $64,000 drive away at the time of filming here in Australia. Now, to some it might look like a normal T-ROC from a distance, but as you get up close, you'll see things like these IQ lights up front. You've also got a light bar that runs across the front here as well, which isn't too different from other T-ROCs, but what is different are these larger air intakes down below to feed power to this motor. But I also like the fact you got these daytime running lights down below. The lighting signature of the T-ROC is one of my favorites, especially with this light bar running across the front now. Oh, and of course, there's a big R badge up here up front as well. Now, if you've been under the hood of a Golf R, you're going to recognize this motor here. It's Volkswagen's EA888 motor. It produces 221 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque in the T-ROC R. You of course get things like a giant airbox, and you can see here with no engine cover provided in this car here, you can see that giant turbocharger at the back. But something is worth noting under here is that this underneath the hood, it's actually not painted at all, which is a bit odd. I normally see hoods that are painted all the way around, but here it's just a flat grey. But it is worth noting, if you're cross-shopping between this R SUV and the Tiguan R does come with a little bit more power and torque. Now, these 19-inch wheels don't just look good, but they also house larger brakes, and you also get these giant blue brake calipers with the R logo stamped on them as well. Now, this red paint, I'm not too sure goes with these blue highlights which come with the R cars, but I'll let you be the final decider of that. Now, you do get an R badge stamped here at the front. You are getting black mirror caps, which are power folding, of course, and you do get a black contrasting roof with these roof rails up top. And you also do get keyless locking and unlocking, even though your key comes with a flip out key, like you would suggest that this actually does have a turn key ignition, but it doesn't. And then your key also does come with some R logos on it to subtly let people know when you put your key on the table that you do drive a Volkswagen T-ROC R. And then towards the back of this rear quarter panel, you are getting some faux carbon fiber print, which just goes on as a decal, which I've just always found a little bit odd, and it's not my favorite thing that's on this car. I would have just preferred some other decals that wasn't trying to emulate the look of carbon fiber. Now, this car's bum gets the most amount of compliments I've seen from any little Volkswagen R that I've got. Maybe because it's an SUV with very real quad tailpipes down below. I'll get to those in a second. First of all, you get this little extension here on the boot lid for a little bit more aero, but it doesn't look too different from a normal T-ROC's roof. Then you've also got this rear wiper here. You've got an R badge right in the middle to let everyone know that this is a T-ROC R, but the dead giveaway is these quad silver tailpipes, which just look great, and surprisingly they sound actually really nice when you're accelerating. They do pops and bangs and burbles and that sort of stuff, and I really like that. It's far more vocal than the Tiguan R. So take a quick listen to that. And of course, it's also worth noting that the T-ROC R does get adaptive dampers, which is another big upgrade when you go to buy a T-ROC R over, say, a normal T-ROC, and that helps with ride comfort, but also helps with handling when you want to stiffen up the ride. Now, to unlock the boot, you're going to press the logo here on the back like you would in other Volkswagens, but what's cool is that, yes, like it has always, but maybe this is news to you, this also hides the reversing camera. You press on that, it opens your automatic tailgate, which is height adjustable, and you get an okay amount of space back here, but it isn't going to be a huge space if you're used to larger SUVs like the Tiguan, for example. Now, underneath here, you are getting a spare tire, which is quite useful, so you're not getting any sort of space-saving goo to be able to repair your tires. At least you can change a tire if you do get a flat. And your seats do fold in a 60-40 split, but like all good Volkswagens, they have a ski pass-through for the middle, so you can put longer items through the middle without having to sacrifice the comfort of the two outer passengers, which I'm very much a big fan of. And also, you do get this hard cargo shelf here as well. And for a small SUV, when you do fold down all the seats, if you want to carry a lot of items, I did find that it actually is pretty practical. But if you are buying a Volkswagen R SUV, you're better off getting a Tiguan R if you're looking for the most amount of space, of course. Now, in the back here, we get an okay amount of rear seat room, but it is a little bit tight because this is what my seating position is normally. Now, we get two USB-C ports, we get some air vents, which is nice, and overall, it's a pretty comfy interior here in the back, especially if you're going for long trips. The headrests are nice and squishy, which I love, and you do get a center armrest as well, and you also get 2 map pockets, and of course your center armrest does have these adjustable cup holders, which I really like in the T-ROC. And you do get blue stitching in the back, you're getting leather in the back, but you are getting some pretty harsh plastics on your rear door. And up front we are getting some sports bucket seats, which I like, and they're very comfortable. They have R stitched in them as well, and you get this carbon fiber look pattern running through them, which is something we see on a lot of Volkswagen cars. To start this thing up, you press the giant start stop engine button and it comes alive with a nice bassy note. Now you get some soft touch materials up top, and you also do get some piano black plastics across the dashboard as well, something I'm not a big fan of. You are getting lots of blue stitching in here as well. You're getting this 9.2-inch touchscreen up here, and something I found a bit disappointing is that Volkswagen has been getting rid of their volume knobs. Instead we have volume touch capacitive buttons, which just isn't as good, but it will do and it does work pretty well, and all your settings are pretty much in here. But luckily we do have physical climate controls with capacitive buttons down below, and then we have hard buttons for critical things like your start engine stop off, your ESP on and off, and you also got things like your parking controls as well. We get a wireless phone charger, 2 USB-C ports, a nice big shifter here, and we do get our drive mode and terrain mode button down below with more gloss black plastic everywhere. Now something else I find a bit odd is that for a car at this price point, we are getting electronic seats here for the driver, which is nice and comfortable, but manual seat adjustment for the passenger. And you of course get our floor mats with blue stitching on it and our logos in a little rubber tag on them, which is kind of cool. Now the storage in here is a little bit limited. We have small-ish cup holders and we have a very small center cubby, but at least you have one. And then you also get a glove box here, which is okay size, and your door bins are pretty good as well. And then you do have a button here to open and close your rear automatic tailgate. Now this 10.25-inch display in front of me is one we'll see on a lot of cars that Volkswagen makes, and it's somewhat customizable. It's not super customizable like Skoda's displays, but instead you can change the view just a little bit to prioritize different information like trip information, your navigation, or whatever you have playing in the center, or you can bring back some big tachometers on either side for your revs and also your speed. But you do have these physical LEDs on each side to indicate your engine temperature and your fuel gauge, which won't go away. Now there's no heads-up display up here, but we do get this really nice R steering wheel. I love the R steering wheels now. They're fantastic, nice big paddles, as they should have had for a while, but at least they're not those small plastic ones. You do have touch capacitive buttons on here, which are okay, but I do find myself turning on and off the heated steering wheel a little bit more often than I would like. You've also got an R button here, which is illuminated in a blue light, and you press that and it allows you to jump straight into race mode or go through your different drive modes. And it feels really nice in the hand, and it's also very easy to adjust and get comfortable in this car. Now the stock speaker system in here is okay, but I would have liked to have seen maybe a speaker upgrade in here that was included rather than being an option. Oh, and of course your front seats are heated, and you do get dual zone climate controls. If you're buying this for a family of 4, for example, and you have grown-up kids, it's going to feel a little bit tight. But here's the thing, this T-ROC can go 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a claimed 4.9 seconds. So I want to see if raising the ride height really compromises the handling of this car, or is it something you don't really have to worry about anymore? Now the T-ROC R is kind of interesting because I've driven a lot of T-ROCs and I've really enjoyed them. So the thing that's interesting about it is that you basically take a T-ROC and you throw performance parts at it. So it seems like it's a competent platform to build a car on, but is it a good performance base? So that's what I'm here to find out. So we're basically finding out if throwing a whole bunch of power, a performance exhaust system, chassis upgrades, brake upgrades, and suspension upgrades at a car like this is a good idea. Well, initially I can just say, yeah, it is. From a sales point of view, if you're going to buy this car, you're probably buying it on the basis that it's an SUV more than the fact that it's a fast car. Then you're like, I kind of want a fast car. And then that's when you're going to go and buy yourself a T-ROC R. Now, the reason why you buy this over a Golf R is because 1, it's more affordable, 2, it might make more sense in your daily life, because for some reason people seem to think that a hatchback can't be the one car solution for you, and a lot of people need an SUV as the one car solution. So when you have 221 kilowatts under the bonnet and 400 Newton meters of torque, there is plenty of fun to be had. Now 4.9 seconds to 100 seems like a fast number on paper, but I'm going to be real with you, this car masks its speed and power quite well. So if I go to slow down a little bit here and I go for a mid-range acceleration, and 3, 2, 1, it starts to really pick up pace as the power winds up the rev range, and also you start to wind up those gears, but it doesn't really feel immediate. It doesn't give you a shove of power, and that's something I found surprising, something that does have 400 Newton meters of torque in this small all-wheel drive package, where I did find something like the Kona N did do a better job at shoving you back in your seat, which is sort of what you want when you're driving an SUV like this, because the driving experience is already a little bit disconnected because you're riding above the road rather than being closer to it. Now the brake feel in this thing is quite nice. You can easily glide to a stop. The DSG gearbox in here is a 7-speed automatic, and it's quite good at being able to predict when you want to downshift and upshift, but I did find it a little bit lazy in some manual downshifts compared to something like the Hyundai Kona N. Now the steering feel in here is actually quite good. It loads up and it does have progressive steering ratios, so it means that as you go faster, this thing gets stiffer, and at low speeds it shouldn't be too bad in like normal or comfort mode. Now in the different drive modes you have here, you do have Eco, which I like quite a lot because it allows you to sort of drive into a very comfortable setting, and I would drive on that for say highway driving, and then you can use this R button here on the steering wheel to jump into more important settings like race mode, like I'm in now. Comfort mode, very comfortable. I do find the adaptive dampers here to work very well, but you're not interested in how comfortable this car is. You're not interested in how fuel efficient the T-ROC R is, because you're buying a T-ROC R for one reason only, and that's because you want a fast car. And you want to know what sort of engagement you get. Well, first of all, these flappy paddle gearboxes do a really good job of just providing immediate engagement, and they're tantalizing. They're sticking out above the wheel, so you feel tempted to press them, and then when you lift off the accelerator at a high rev range, you do get these pops, burbles, and bangs out the exhaust, and it's very, very entertaining. They can get quite loud too. You can sort of listen to that. It's so fun. I really like that. I mean, it's just silly and something that's meant to be like a practical small SUV. The fact that they put the R badge on this and an R motor in it is just something I absolutely enjoy. Now these gear shifts can be snappy, but at the same time I have found revs to be a little bit lazy to fall down if you're not really on it. It sort of guesses and it sort of slowly transitions down from like say third to second, even though you're not really at a high rev rate. Now going through corners like this is where these adaptive dampers come into play, because this is one of those cars that you go, okay, you're sort of ruining the handling experience by raising the center of gravity. Does that really affect the driving experience? And I will say, not really. This is still quite a fun car to drive. It's not dramatically higher to a Golf R, but it is enough where you should note that your center of gravity is higher, so it's not going to handle as well, and you will feel like you need to use a lateral support in these seats, because this thing doesn't really feel like it's handling too flat. You can feel it sort of move a little bit, sort of leans a little bit, but it is relatively flat for a small SUV. Now something I found really annoying in here is that you do have a sound generator to really enhance that engine sound, something I don't really think that's entirely necessary, especially when you have very real exhaust sounds out the back and the engine is loud enough anyway. And what ends up happening is that when you go into the throttle, I have heard a rattling from the dashboard just because of that bassy note, and it's just something I really don't like, and just wish something that would be disabled, aside from the fact that you have to go into a special mode to customize your drive mode to turn it off. I'd rather just have it off on default. I don't think it's entirely necessary to the driving experience, and it sort of ruins race mode for me in the T-ROC R. But aside from that, this is a very pleasurable car to drive. It's absolutely a fully fledged R product. I would definitely take it to track days, but something I would upgrade personally if I was to buy a T-ROC R would be brakes. I would get some cross-drill brakes up front, just because the ventilated brakes, yep, they work well, but they are probably going to be more prone to heat soak and getting a bit more warm compared to something that is cross-drilled up front. But all in all, if you are looking for the rally version of a Golf R, the T-ROC R is an excellent way to get around if you want to ride a bit higher above the ground. And what I love is that when you're immediately sick of just that driving experience, you don't want to go into anything more aggressive, you can just easily use the R button here to shift into say something like comfort mode, and you can just relax. And those adaptive dampers really do soften off. The ride is still a little bit on the stiff side thanks to those 19-inch wheels, but it's not too bad. It's not unbearable by any means, so you can sort of cruise along a bit more uneven terrain, and you can even go into that individual mode to keep all the sporty driving characteristics, but then soften up that suspension. But something I wish this car did come with was that new Nürburgring mode that the new Mark 8 Golf R and R Wagon came with, which I found awesome. It really gave all the race characteristics of race mode, but then it allowed you to have sort of a slightly more softly sprung suspension setup, which was something that I found very good for back back-road driving. Now, what else could you get instead of a T-ROC R? Well, you could get a Hyundai Kona N, which is a really solid option. I think it has a better gearbox than this, but the only downside is that it's front-wheel drive only, and it's a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit smaller than this is. Now, you could buy something from Mercedes like the GLA 35 AMG, but those German rivals are more expensive, and I don't think you're getting a whole lot more car for that much more money, where the T-ROC R really punches above its weight in terms of performance and what it offers in terms of features around this price point. And so that's why out of all the R SUVs, I would buy the T-ROC R, because if you don't need the space of the Tiguan R, you're getting a better handling car in the T-ROC. And I really don't think that Volkswagen lost any sort of performance gains by lifting this off the ground a tiny bit. I think for the everyday person, they're not really going to notice that, because this thing handles so well with those dampers, those brakes, and the chassis setup here compared to something like a Tiguan R. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name is Cameron. If you want to see more car reviews like this, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to see more car content, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Product Review Cars. Now, make sure to review your own car on productreview.com.au to let everyone know what it's like to own your car. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.